Hello, hello. We're just getting started, so I'm just checking to make sure. And make sure we have audio and all of that jazz. So let us see. All right, looks like we are live. Let me just check. Yep, I can hear audio. I see it in my other window. So camera's over here. It's low. Why is the volume low though? That volume should not be low. All right, let's see. Let's test that audio out now. Still a little low, isn't it, guys? Well, let's test if I get a little closer. Yeah, that helps, but... All right, let's test how the audio is now. I did another little tweak. All right, I guess the rest of it is I just got to talk louder. So we got about 4 minutes. Just let that play out for a little bit. Okay, folks, let's just make sure, we want to make sure a couple of things are here and we talk a little bit of business. First, let me get these guys off. First thing in the chat, let me know if you can hear me and everything is good. There's not a lot of people on this stream right now because this is kind of, I don't stream from this channel a lot. And we forgot to send out an email right beforehand. All right, but it's YouTube Live. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to be answering any questions that you guys have. But our purpose today is portfolio review. And in terms of a portfolio review, the most important thing is for you guys to understand the system, the quote unquote, the system that I have for it. And really the system that Vertex School was built around. Because, I gotta get this wallet out. Vertex School was built with this idea of, let's not get a bachelor's or a master's, or like, how can you get a job in a creative job for under $10,000 that pays you, you know, $60,000 to $80,000 a year, right? That's what education should be, but it's not. And that to me is a tragedy. It's ridiculous. Like, creative fields, nobody cares where you went to school. You could go to USC, you could go to Ringling, you could go to Las Vegas Community College. What they care about is your work and whether your artwork looks good enough. Now, of course, you know, at certain times it's helpful to work with peers that have, you know, better or more focus, let's say. So you might go to USC and your peers may be more focused and they may be better than you might find at, say, Las Vegas Community College. But there are people in this industry that came from, you know, a village in, you know, a country in the Eastern Bloc, and they're doing just fine. They just focused and decided to focus and decided to make it their priority. All right, and that's really what we need to talk about today. And see if once you've decided to set your focus, if we can shorten the journey, you know, from A to B, right? So let me switch over to the here, and I'm just going to make sure you guys can hear me. All right, there we go. Looks like YouTube Live was, the volume was down on YouTube, not on my thing. So hopefully I'm not going to be, my audio is not going to crunch too much. Okay, so that is good. Now, a couple of things. Make sure you go over to Vertex School, because again, I don't stream from here a lot. And you subscribe and all that good stuff, because we're going to be doing this much more frequently, a lot more frequently. I actually might do this 3 times this week. So share it with a friend, somebody you know who needs to see this. I'm going to go in the next few minutes. I'm going to go through a lot of the people that submitted, not everybody. I'm going to go through a lot of the people that submitted, and I'm going to do kind of like a quick run through of yes, no, things to change and whatnot. Then I'm going to deep dive into 3 to 4 people to really start to look at what are the essential elements to improve your portfolio to get a job. I don't care about your art. I don't care about, you know, you as an artist in this conversation. I care about your portfolio as a match for a job, right? And it's very important that we know that, because artists are emotional sensitive beings. I'm an emotional sensitive person. And we tend to think in terms of art, which is us. It can get closer to our core than a lot of other things. But this is a job that we're talking about. And in terms of a job, that means you have to have a professional artist side of you. And they have questions in the interview process that are designed to determine if you are actually pro or if, you know, you're still in the sensitive side. You know, questions as simple as, tell me a time in which you experienced a difficulty and you overcame it, right? That question you'll hear in most interviews. What does that question mean? Well, it almost doesn't matter what your answer is. What matters is what kind of answer you give, So do you immediately go to a professional challenge? Do you immediately go to a personal challenge, right? That's going to tell them a lot about where you are in life just from that. It's kind of a mind game. So when they ask about a challenge, they're actually asking about a professional challenge. But they don't say that because they want to know, do you veer off over here, or are you able to stay professional, and are you aware that this is a job, that this is a contract that we're going to be signing, you know, that you're going to be responsible to show up to work on time regardless of whether you're in the mood or not, and that you're going to be responsible to produce work whether you're in the mood or not, and you know, you have to be nice whether you're in the mood or not, you know, all of that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about this as a job. Now, I've been focused on this for about 15 years. And only now you'll see me, I'm going to, at least in my own personal work and my own personal conversations, it's going to be here at Vertex School. It'll be over at my main one, which is Kingsline at YouTube. You'll see me now start to talk about unlocking the artist, because it's something that I'm much more interested in now. But in this conversation, we're going to talk about professionalism. And one of the key things of professionalism is a North Star. So every company wants to be, not every company. You can take a look at Apple and Microsoft. And you could say, look at Simon Sinek's TED Talk on why, the why. I think it's the why. Apple is a visionary company. They create the iPhone when nothing else existed like that. Microsoft is what they call a fast follower, meaning they're not going to invent anything. And, you know, they're just going to follow. Somebody else is going to invent it. They're going to follow fast behind that and capture market share, and hopefully capture all of the market share, which is literally how, you know, Windows was developed, and not to mention Word and Excel and all these other things. They followed fast. So in business, we have this idea that you find a market and then you reverse engineer your success, right? And your market could be, hey, this product sells great in Japan, but it has no distribution here, and it doesn't, you know, it needs some changes to fit the demographics in the US. And you take this idea and you move here. Vertex School takes the idea of boot camps, General Assembly, Hack Reactor, and all of those, and it applies those to game arts. That's what our goal is, right? And we have been successful at this. And success to me is defined by one thing, and it's, are students getting jobs? You know, were they struggling before, and did we help them get that job? And if we did, you pay less than 10 grand. So we have, I mean, you're not going to pay 10 grand in college. Scholarship maybe, it's just, you're not going to do it. You're certainly not going to do it, you know, and spend 1 year in college and be a job candidate. College is designed for something else, right? So if you need to do it to satisfy your parents, do it. Why are you going to do it for a game art job? I don't know, right? And especially now, people have these concerns of AI. They have all these concerns. So one of the big things about this concern with AI is, and let me check with you guys here, is get into the industry now. Don't get into the industry. Don't learn the skills of now and then get into the industry in 4 years. In 4 years, you got no idea what's going on. Nobody does. I mean, I'm at the head of my particular industry. I got no idea. All my friends, we got no idea. It's a brave new world. The great part about that is that means actually we're deciding in large part, you know, where this is going to go. So if you are concerned about artificial intelligence, if you're concerned about what this does, you have two choices. You could look at this and you could say like, screw it, everything's done. Well, look, they've been saying everything's done since they could say anything, right? There's Leonardo da Vinci thought he was late to the party and he was pissed off. And he's like, all knowledge has already been discovered. I just have these little things that I can do now. And was that true? No. You go back even further, you can go back into ancient Greeks, and people, same damn thing. People are saying all knowledge has already been discovered. There's always somebody saying, you know, we're done. We're done, we're done, we're cooked in today's verbiage. We're all cooked. Let me see if you guys can hear me okay. Loud and clear. So, are we cooked? Why would you be cooked? I mean, in the game industry, AI is not used. If companies use AI, the client base is dramatically against it. There is huge backlash. And within the game industry, they have a different level of backlash. When there's a backlash in the game industry, your game is canceled. You spend 100, 200 million on that game, and just a average size backlash, that money is gone. So only idiots fuck around and find out in that environment, right? And there are a few idiots finding out. But it's not, we would train on AI if AI was used. I've asked the top of my heads of my department, AI is not used right now. Maybe somebody uses it. They use it for their email. They use it for organizing their day. They use it maybe to help them understand a concept, right? They use it to, some people use Midjourney and chat to develop some ideas and whatnot. But nobody uses it in production. Copyright issues, customer fan base, you know, blowback. Vertex uses the current workflow today because the heads of our department are doing that during their day job, right? So we don't have heads of department that, you know, have tenure, who kind of match the industry. Our heads are leading the industry. Jacob Clausen is one of them. And I asked him just the other day, I was like, you know, should we include AI? And he's like, I don't mind including AI, but I don't want to teach students something that's not used. And Meshy, Midjourney, these things are not used right now. So you can feel like you're cooked, but you could feel like you're cooked about anything. You could be cooked as an accountant. You can be cooked as a lawyer, you know. You could be cooked because Terminator basically is in 3 years, right? James Cameron gave it 2029. So we got 3 years before Terminator comes. You're cooked then. If you're cooked then, you're cooked then. I mean, that's an apocalypse. What are you going to do, right? Go study some jujitsu and get some military training. That'll be useful, all right? But that's a different conversation. If you want to get into this industry, let's get into the industry. What does it take? And one of the things that it does take is being responsive and being focused. And again, don't learn something now that you apply 4 years from now. Learn something now that you apply in 9 months. That's why our program is 9 months, okay? And I know I'm heavy selling it here, but I'm not really selling it. I built Vertex for a particular purpose, and it's to survive this apocalypse. You know, don't do a 4-year degree. And if you do a 4-year degree, you still got to do this at some point. You got to learn something now that you're going to apply in 6 to 9 months, because what this industry wants is they want portfolios. That's it. This industry wants a portfolio. You could be George Lucas's godson, and you might get pulled in to talk about George Lucas. You ain't going to get a job unless you got a portfolio that is equivalent to what people are doing. And that's really important. Your portfolio needs to be equivalent, not below, above if you can. It needs to be equal to what people are doing in the industry now. Let's pause on that, because that freaks people out. And newbies and everybody, they're like, how can I be as good as somebody who's been in the industry for 10 years? I'll tell you. But first, accept the fact. There are 1,000 candidates, 1,000 applications to one job. One job opening. 1,000 people come in and they're like, hey, pick me. Okay? And out of that, 300 of them are actually possible candidates. Isn't that crazy? Like, how the hell does that happen? A creative industry, a creative job is different than, say, becoming a lawyer. Okay? In the creative industry, singing, musician, film, games, arts, gallery, game arts, visual effects, whatever it is, it's all of a threshold. Your work has to reach a threshold. That threshold is you are invisible, you are visible. That's it. That threshold, once you are visible, means it's all possible. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, it means it's possible. Below that threshold means it's not possible yet. You have to get to that threshold. Again, you could be George Lucas's godson and you're down here. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to bring you on for a week and then they're going to let you go because you have to produce every day. You have to be making work at the same quality as the team you're joining. There's internships. I was just talking to somebody about internships. Internships are to me, they're a big gimmick. Sony might have, 5 internships in a year? How many students are there out there? A college might say, we get you internships at Sony. Sony's only going to do 5. How many people did you pull in this year by saying you're going to do that? You pulled in 100 people into your program and said, we get, come on. It's a game. It's a game. Higher education is one of the biggest, in my view, this is my personal opinion, is one of the biggest gimmicks out there that's built around what is the largest market out there, which is the student loan industry, larger than credit cards. Larger than credit cards are the student loans to go to 4-year universities, to go to master's programs that charge you 4 times what Vertex charges you per year for the same or less outcome. Who designed this system? Now, if you're in Europe, different story, right? Because Europe college doesn't cost the same. So Europe has an advantage over the US, where there's a lot of great colleges that will teach you the skills. So if you're there 4 years, you actually are learning a massive, wonderful skill set. Okay? That's fantastic. But in my country, Vertex School has a place that I feel is very important, and I feel like our student loan industry is I'm going to say it, I might get in trouble for it, but for me it's immoral at best. It is immoral to lock students into giant student loan packages and then deliver the same results that they can get by studying on their own or by taking classes, and all that jazz. And I have a lot of problems with it. You need to focus on your portfolio. Full stop. Focus on your portfolio. You do things that help you with your portfolio, you win. Okay? Lots of talk there. Any questions, shout them out. Let's get ourselves focused on the screen. Let me see your questions. Oh, I love this. Is that Aereo? I don't know how to say it, 82. Some recruiters demand work experience despite having really good portfolios. Number one, I would question that. I don't believe they demand work experience. They'll put it in the job listing. They don't. It doesn't factor in. So still apply. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, guys, let me go through the people that I'm not going to review. Okay, and I'll explain, I'm not going to do major reviews on, and I'll explain the why as I do it. All right, so right here, Simon, let's see, yeah, there we go, just graduated. The work is older, posted last year. Okay, so Simon, the most important thing is be producing work. This is 3 years ago, and this is 2 years ago. So out of 3 years, I have 3 pieces. I need more. I need a lot more, okay? Because I need to know that you can still produce this. I need to know more about how you produced this, right? So texture's good. I actually really like this. I think the diorama is a little bit intense. You can dial down the height of that stuff. The textures in the face is looking good, nice and solid. The texture on this is a little dry, right? So you need to deal with that a little bit. Maybe it's leather, but I think having leather around your neck like that would be a little crazy. And then, but these are really good. You got edge wear, you know, you got a bunch of stuff going on. Now let's see if I can find a high poly. Yes, I see the low, that's good. The low poly is fine. I see the UVs, I see the albedo. Good, you know, marvelous. There's your high poly, sweet. Okay, great, look at that hair, awesome. Simon, the only thing that's stopping you is 5 more characters and picking specific things to focus on. So do a face where you just go next level on the face, and then more characters. You need more work. Okay, now Ryan, you have a job. So that's great. So we don't need to go into this too terribly much because my job is to get people jobs. So when I look at this, I'm like, okay, there are some things that we could think through, but you have a job. And so now the most important thing that you need to think about is what's your North Star, right? So let's take a look at low birth games. Okay, so low birth, wish list, Steam, you've got a game here. Okay, and so now with your work, it looks like you're heading towards Blizzard. You're heading towards something more stylized, right? And so you've got to think North Star. You've got to start to think, where I'm building a portfolio for what, for where, and I need 5 pieces of work centered around that, right? All of your work has an element of stylized to it. So that's going to be something that you want to think through and try to get even more into it, right? And then, let's see. Yeah, that's fine. And then on from that. North Star, where do you want to work and build it? Okay, but you got a job, so you're in great shape. Who do I have here? Mariana. Okay, so I don't have a ton of work. Let me see if I get more through this. Vehicles, characters. Yeah, we get more through this. Why did I not see a ton of work? Ah, there we go. Okay, so Mariana, I don't know what job you want to apply for. I don't have a LinkedIn. Right? So you want to make sure that your LinkedIn is here. Nobody is going to do a search for your LinkedIn unless, you know, they absolutely, like if there's something that they absolutely need to achieve. But you want that to be, you want these to be connected. ArtStation here, and then a link back to there, so you have a nice little ecosystem. You've got an apprenticeship going on, and you've worked in visual effects and lighting before. You've done some 3D modeling. So the most important thing that you've got to think through now, Mariana, is what is your North Star? So when I look at the work, I feel like this is a lot of like college work. And so what I mean by that is you have like a lot of samples, right? And so you have this project, you have that project, you have this project. Okay, and a lot of people that we're going to go through quickly, the most important thing for you to do now is pick your North Star, all right? So we talked about that briefly in the intro. And so what it means is I want to work at Blizzard, okay? And I want to work at Activision on Call of Duty. We pick these are totally different, right? The portfolio that works for Blizzard, it does not work for the portfolio for Activision at Call of Duty. It does not work, right? They will not hire you. You could be top at Blizzard, they will not hire you. Because you can do stylized. I don't know if you can do this, right? I had a friend who's an environment artist at Naughty Dog. And at Naughty Dog, Last of Us, for a decade. And she wanted to go to Ghost of Tsushima. She's got over a decade. She came from one of the best schools in the industry, you know, if not at that time, the best school in the industry. She had to do 3 art tests. Pretty sure it was 3. She had to do 3 art tests. Not one, not just, hey, walk in, we know you got it covered, you know, come on in, you can, no. 3 art tests, folks, because they want to know that you can do the work at the level of the people currently on the team. That's what they want to know. And you might have to do multiple tests. Also, when you look at things like environments, you don't know if somebody was just responsible for the grass or if they can actually model, right? So when I look at your work here, Mariana, I see there's a Unity explosion, there's a candle, there's a boat. I lost my words there. There's a train. There's a prop down at the bottom. This guy right here. So I'll get that out of the way. Now, what you need is custom tailored portfolio, and you only figure that out when you know who you want to work for. And this is a big issue for a lot of people when they're starting out, because they tend to be like, well, I'll take any job. And so you're not going to take any job. I'll just be straight. If you say you're going to take any job, you will not get any job. The way it works is you have to be able to do the work that's currently being done, in the way that it's currently being done, in the style that it's currently being done, right? If you want to work at Blizzard and you've got a bunch of soldiers and realistic soldiers, it doesn't matter. If you want to go to Activision, Call of Duty, and you got a bunch of trolls and really cool sculpted stuff, it ain't going to work. You build the portfolio for where you want to go. And in the beginning, you haven't gone anywhere. So you have to make a decision. You have to make a leap. And it's tough because, you know, you're like, I don't want to go the wrong direction. Maybe I like this, maybe I like that, right? And it's all esoteric. So at Vertex, we just give them a week. You have a week, you decide, you know? If you haven't decided in a week, you ain't going to decide in 3 weeks. So you decide. And if you go for 3 months on that project and you're like, I effing hate this project, I hate this, well, you learned. So you pivot and you pick another North Star. But indecision, especially in today's environment where I'm encouraging everybody to get into the industry now. If you get in now and you learn the core structures, all the information I have, I'm looking at Geo, Wes McDermott, you know, these guys are there building workflows. And it all comes around having this core knowledge of modeling, sculpting, PBR workflows, understanding how to get story into it. And then, of course, Unreal Engine, right? These are the things. You get in, you master these processes. Anything that involves AI in the future is going to be built on these workflows that we have today. Okay, but you gotta have them now, not 5 years from now. You want to get a job now, right? So you need a portfolio that says, I want to do X, and you have a prop. If you want to do character, then you have characters. If you want to do environment, then you do environments. Right now, I have environments and I have characters. You can't do both. The generalist position, in my experience, is largely just kind of disappearing. And people are becoming specialists in specific things, very specific things, you know. But that fragmentation has been happening a long time. All right, let's get back in and take a look. So that's what's going to be most important. Dana, I am 50-50 on the presentation of this, and I want more. So let me see. Did we have? Yes, good. Okay. So let's see, Dana and Dana, are you Vertex? Yes, Paul. Sweet. Okay. All right. So you come in from this world. How long ago was this? Oh, this way doesn't tell me. Okay. All right. So you're early on. All I would say is we want to, yeah, that's term 1 capstone. All I'd say is you want to be a little bit careful of what I call illustration versus presentation. And so this is illustration heavy, which is you're telling the story. It looks like you got a 2D character in there, which is really cool, but you're talking to HR. HR is your first gateway. Honestly, they wouldn't know if that was actually a 3D toon render or if that was 2D. They wouldn't know, right? So you need to be presenting the work for HR, which is basically like presenting it to parents. You know, they don't know what this is. They just have a list, right? And it's a list that they get from their artists and their managers. And they're like, they have a high poly, they have a low poly, they have UVs, this is textured, right? They don't really even care about the render per se. It's these things. So there's a series of verticals, which hopefully I'm going to get into when I dive into these other guys, where this is part of the system of how I understand getting work and making yourself undeniable, as the saying goes. So right now, illustration. What I need is I need a high poly, right? So let's go ahead and look. Do we have a high poly in this? I'm going to skip through. We have a render and we have an illustration. All right. I don't see shadows. I'm a little fuzzy on the shadows, so that's a bit of a problem. But again, I'm scrolling. I see the concept. Okay, great. The high poly is here, but what I really want is I want multiple views, and I want what we would call a clay render. I don't care about topology. I care about bevels. So you can kill the topology. Your low poly is too high. There's no reason for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's none. This is actually indicative of a film-centric approach. If you have a dent, like you have right here, you got a little bit, you want some movement in it. If you're going to do game topology, it goes like that. And so you would compress all of that into one, and then you don't need any of these, right? So you compress all of that, and you create these poles to help you decide or define more. That's honestly what they need in the low poly, because this is not a low poly, this is actually a high poly. And so you need to deal with the topology differently. Now we've got our normals in here. Good. You've got your texturing. Okay. Where's your ORM? I don't see an albedo. I don't see a color. I see the ORM. I want to see the color. Okay. Just a flat color render. And again, there's so much illustration here that I'm really missing the shadows. I don't feel like they're really solid. So, yeah, too much detail. So when this is a lot like it's a lot like dating. Not that I have dated in a long time. Too much information is a bad thing. So you want to give them the information that they are asking for, tiny bit more, and that's it. And then you cut and run, right? But if you're in there talking about yourself and showing and all you're doing is giving them opportunities to say no. And they're just waiting to say no. You got to remember, anybody's looking at your work, guys, the number one thing they want to do is they want to say no. Because they got 999 other portfolios that they got to look through, right? And their first order of business is cut. So if you fall within that cut mindset where it's just like, no, you don't want to do that. You want to be in the mindset where it's just enough, it's exactly what they're looking for, that they can then put you off to the side and say, I want to review this. Okay, right now I've gone through too much illustration and I would have said no, right? Most likely they would have said no. Of course, you're dealing with the capstone, so it's kind of a different environment. So that might come across as harsh. But I know Paul's going to give you love. I know everybody at the team is going to give you love. And so if the founder's a bit of an asshat, you'll forgive us. My only lens here is for the job. Okay. So hope that helps. Okay. Moad, you've got Instagram here. Your Instagram does not work. Oh my God. No, right? And I don't have a last name. I can't Google you. I don't know anything about you other than you're here at this place, Byzantine Interactive. So it means you already have a job. So with all that done, I can't really review anything. I would love to review it, but I don't have anything where it's like there's an ecosystem of stuff to hire. I have to say no. Let's see. We're not doing game design stuff, game development, sorry. The site, though, I do want to say, like, awesome. I love this. And we've got quick click to play, and it's all right there to install. So I'm not in a position right now to review this because we're focused on art. I just wanted to say, one, the art looks cool, and two, I'm really impressed with this site. Great job. And there's a lot of it, right? And your narratives, this is lovely. Yeah, nice, short, and simple. You've got all your LinkedIn in here. Honestly, I couldn't ask for a better website to kind of see that you can, number one, do all this stuff, and that you have done all this stuff, right? So now the only question would be, where is your Instagram? Instagram is it's a debate, and it's a debate I have both because you're a woman, and so it's like, in a way, it's better that you're on LinkedIn because it's just so strictly professional, right? So I would think about Instagram, and I would think about Reels, and I would think about really posting stuff that's really centric to your games. But it's tough in Instagram with that kind of, with games, right? As opposed to artwork. Are you posting playback? And are you posting industry stuff? I don't know. So even with that done and said, I'm inclined to say put some stuff on Instagram and have it there. But I think as a developer and a game developer, I think LinkedIn is really honestly your best. You're going to be strong there. So great job. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Let's see, Maria. LinkedIn is here. Good. Game ready pipeline, sweet. Personal project. So you're currently working. You may not have the job you want. You're a detail-oriented character, so this is good. And so the one thing that I would say we could do, so basically when I look at this, I see, okay, she likes to sculpt, cool. She can do stylized stuff, okay. She can do some realistic stuff. How long ago is this? It doesn't tell me. I'm not a huge fan of this version of ArtStation. I kind of loathe it because it doesn't give me all the tools I want. I like this version. Yeah. So this is much better for me, and it's much better for review, okay? So I see prop, I see hard surface, I see armor, right? And then I see marvelous designer, and then I see this. And so right here, second year, final university. This is 9 months ago. Tried to practice. All right. So what is this showcase for us as HR, right? So this indicates to me somebody's working, they have a job, they're now doing this on their own time, and they're exploring things. But I don't want you to explore stuff on my dime. I want you to be passionate about this. So if you want to work at Blizzard, are you passionate about what we are passionate about, right? Let me show you another artist. And she does classes and stuff like that right now. But there we go. How am I getting this mixed up? I'm spelling the name wrong. Why did another T do that? Okay. Letitia Gillett, right now she's at Disney. And what I want to do is go to her art station. So she's got a great, like, if you're going to learn stylized, I would always recommend you go learn from her. I need her art station. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you her art station, and on her art station, what's really important, and you guys can still hear me, right? Yeah. What's really important on her art station is that we're going to go to the bottom, and you're going to see what she did to get a job, because her first job out of school, she went to a great school, but it wasn't the great school that did it. It was what she did that showcased that she was passionate and she made connections. All right. And so let me show you guys that. And let me check questions. Okay. All right. Let's go down to the beginning. All right. So I believe this was a project she did in school. She does not mention that it's a project she did in school. I would not mention school. Then she went through and she started finding concepts that she liked, and she started making work based on concepts. Okay, this is not her concept. She just picked a concept that somebody had done, asked them if she could copy or she could make it 3D, and they said yes, and then so she made it 3D, and she did a damn good job, right? That's what she did. Not once, not twice, 3, 4, 5. She did it multiple times. Multiple times. This guy, same thing. These are all 11 years ago. She did a lot, and that showcased that she was passionate, right? And she's always choosing somebody else's concept. So the concept is here in the top, and then you scroll down and you start to see her 3D. Wait, was that? I think I got that wrong. Where'd it go? There. Yes, where is the concept? Oh, I don't see the concept. But that's the 3D. All right, and then next thing you know, she's working it, doing the job that she loved, and then, oh, what is this? Oh, repost. Repost. And then where's her Disney stuff? And then next thing you know, she's at Disney. Which is actually the true home of any stylized person is generally Disney. And working on the projects that she loves. You know, there's so much great stuff. Sea beasts. Look at that. So cool. So anyways, the point of all of that is when we're looking at that work, let me just get myself back into it. We want to know that you're passionate, you know? And so you can't be passionate about these two different things. Like you can't be passionate about that stylized and that realistic. You're passionate about one thing, right? Passion requires that. Otherwise, it's not passion. It's convenience. And so that dilutes your brand, dilutes your focus. What are you passionate about? Okay. Generally, we want to find what we're passionate about. We want to pick a North Star based on that, and then we want to create work from that, right? And that's what Leticia did. Disney. Okay, but Disney was a far reach. She chose Blizzard. She created work from concept artists that worked at Blizzard. And then they're the ones that recommended and said, yeah, she can do it. She just did this to my cool concept. So let's have her join the company because her ass is doing this already. And that's that point where they'll hire you if you're doing the work already. That's how it works. The recipe is actually really simple when you break it down, right? Everybody's like, do I learn figure drawing? Do I learn this? And it's like, you learn what you have to learn. But if you want a job, the recipe is really simple. It's just do the work that they're doing. And then you're part of the club and you become a job candidate, right? And that's the key. You hit that threshold, you become a job candidate, and then it becomes possible. Then it's just a function of marketing, getting yourself out there, doing interviews, doing social media, and establishing a brand and adding value and things of that nature. All right? So let's keep going. Rebecca. Character work. Last month. Good. Recent. Okay, let's talk presentation. I want my high poly quickly. Okay, let me see if I can find Marco. Marco Lazov, ArtStation. Okay, let's see if he still got it all. He does! Yay! All right. So Marco came into, I don't remember if it was Game Art Institute or Vertex, but we worked together a long time ago. And so I'll share with you the advice that I had for Marco, some of the advice I had for Marco, and that helped him, right? Where Marco is at now is a result of all of the crazy, this is a dude that works. And he believes in the work and he's passionate about the work and he's involved in the work he's passionate about, right? But in the beginning, like every other student, everybody else in the beginning didn't trust that passion maybe, didn't know what to do, thought maybe he had to do this thing over here because that's what the industry wanted, right? And so what we did is we focused on a North Star. Let's take a look at his work. We focused on a North Star and we focused on a presentation, okay? So this is a Ranger, which is an archetype that a lot of games would like. This is great, this fits, okay? Then we scroll down and we see, all right, turntable, detail work, damn, look at that texturing, son. Oh, look at that face, woo-wee. Okay, and then we're immediately here in this. This image is what I need, right? So let's say if we come back here, this is great. I come in and I'm like, look at that, cool texturing. You could probably put more gradients. Like this, you need a gradient here. That needs to be darker than anything up there. All of these need gradients. I don't see any, I kind of see a gradient, but you need more, okay? Yeah, you need more. That's good, you got a gradient there, but it's a little too scattered. Just natural darkening, okay? But I don't have this main image, so where was it? Yeah, texture, high poly, low poly. Texture, rendered, high poly, low poly, right? With arguably the texture. If I'm HR, I want to know, can you sculpt? Can you do low poly topology, and can you texture? Those are three questions I want to know. I want to know them fast, right? The quality of the work is going to engage them, right? And you've got good quality work, so it's going to engage them. But you need to have, you need to answer their questions, right? So I had a mentor once. He said, whenever you're talking to somebody, you got to know, who they are and what they want, right? And so when you post work here, you shouldn't be looking at it from your perspective only. Hey, mom, look, I can do it. You want to figure out who I'm posting for, right? So you're posting for HR. That's what you're doing. You're posting for people whose job it is to find character artists. And then you want to know, what do they want to know? What do they need, right? And if you answer, if you give them what they need, you're valuable to them. You're infinitely more valuable than the 999 other people that may not have given them what they need. What do they need? They need, can the person sculpt? Can they create texture? Can they create a low poly, right? Then after that, facial anatomy, hair, right? All that good stuff. Your image is going to tell them, like what Marco's did. Marco gave, okay, here's the product, cool. Then we're like, okay, I can texture. I can do the hair, I can do facial anatomy too. And then here we go, here's my right? He's answering the questions one by one, every image answering the question. If an image does not answer a question, it does not belong in your portfolio. It needs to answer their question. It needs to be valuable to the person who's looking at it. And the person who's looking at it, you add value when you answer their questions. You give them what they need. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so we keep going, all this, and then this is a fantastic presentation, right? And this presentation, along with this, back then we were also, we were able to work with 80 level, and so we got him a placement in 80 level where he broke this down. And then after that, got him a job. Got him a job right away, right? So what you need is answer my questions. Okay, high poly, sculpt, cool. Why do I need the zoom in? I don't need the zoom in. I see this. I don't need this, although I see what you're answering. I would almost prefer an image. Now I'm having to wait. You're taking up my time. Taking up my time. Okay. Cool. You're missing it. Okay. So I have to wait now to get my questions answered, right? Do I like waiting? Do I enjoy waiting to get my questions answered? I'm a kind person generally. I work in HR, so I work with people, and I'm putting on the type, and I want to help people. That's kind of what I love about it, is when we find people. I didn't have my coffee this morning, you know. My son's school called. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's happening. I don't have time to wait for you to give me what I need. Your job, everybody's job on this stream, everybody who listens to this stream later on, your job is to give people what they need so that they can give you what you need, right? This isn't some big, happy, hippy-dippy camp where everybody just gets lovey-dovey, right? No, this is about money. You want money from somebody, right? So you can live. You can have a house. You can provide for your family. You got to give them what they need, right? They are getting paid to give the company people who can do the work, who can grow, right? Every company has to grow, who can grow the company, who are an asset to the company. So you have to give them what they want. And you got to give it to them in the format that works, you know, for them. So we need to break this down and become much more strategic about how you present content, right? Yeah, got to ditch the vids. And again, why am I seeing all these close-ups? I need that high poly. I need the one render that you can do this, and it's too big. See how it's I'm scrolling? No, I don't like to scroll. One image, and then really we need to get to maybe one detail where it's like, oh wow, that's super cool, because it is. And like maybe even this is your main image. Then you go here, probably go back to this detail, and then you come down to you know, these guys. You know, like that's really valuable. Seeing everything that you've done there in the texture. Cool? Okay, what is your name? many. Okay. Okay. There is so the site is serving two purposes, and so that's a bit of a dilemma. On one level, we have like almost an influencer type thing where we're having people follow us along on the journey, and then on another level, we have a portfolio, and those are two different things. So you need to have this on ArtStation if you want a job. You want these things to be on ArtStation, and you want them to be broken down where it's like you have your North Star, you know who you're going for, and you have your work there, right? And then you can have over here on the side, you have your site and your handle, and everything's under that. But if I'm HR, I'm not hiring, some Instagram handle. I'm hiring a person that's going to be legally bound to do this work for me, or their ass is going to get fired, right? And I'm going to give them cold hard cash for that. And so you have to present yourself professionally on that. Your name, your face, your focus, and whatnot. And so we keep this, move that to the side, you go over and you put everything on ArtStation and you work from there, and then I'll look at the work itself to see. And so then we have to go and say, where do we want to work, right? And so this work is all in the beginning, but there are a whole series of things that we do not have yet, which indicates to me that you're early in the experience, right? So we can take a look at like these guys right here, and then I'll put my face on camera. Let me see how you guys are doing. We ask questions. No, you do not ask questions. I'm going through this fast. Somebody sent their portfolio over. All right, well, you'll have to go through the review. I'm crushing through these fast. Ryan, I have software question. The ZBrush Maya pipeline is the industry standard, but also pricey. Yes, use Blender. Don't buy Maya, guys. Don't get into that. Use Blender. Blender is 100% used in the industry. It's used as much as Maya, as far as I'm concerned. Another question, would companies train you to use Maya, or do they see Blender and think, oh, this guy is cooked, and swipe left? Okay, so great question on software. Use Blender. Use Blender for sculpting. Look, I helped build ZBrush, right? I don't like the fact that everybody copies ZBrush. But to be perfectly honest, what else are you going to do? ZBrush is the bee's knees. So of course you're going to copy it, because everybody else sucks. So why would you go over there and copy that sucky app? Copy ZBrush, because we did that shit right? All right, so fine. We'll let Maxon deal with all the copyright shit. But use Blender. Use the clay brush. Ofer's already exited. He sold it to Maxon, so the original designer of ZBrush is already exited, and he's got his exit package. I hope to Christ it was a fantastic package, and he's retired in the Bahamas, but knowing Ofer, he's not. He's working his ass off somewhere. And so that's all good. Use Blender. Use it. Would you use Maya? For the love of God, do not buy that. Use Blender. It's free. It takes all the pressure off, right? It sucks in animation. Somebody might hate me for that, but I don't care. It sucks in animation. The animation is nowhere close to Maya. Maya is a godsend in animation. But that done and said, I still wouldn't get Maya. I would only get Blender, right? Will they train you? They probably won't train you. They'll just get you Blender. If they need you to be on Maya, they generally train for it. But nowadays, most pipelines are going to be software agnostic. It would be a really dumb business decision, like hyper dumb, to hire somebody because they knew Maya. And that's like a main reason. Because right now, the quality of work is such an important thing that how you did it, the software, because they're all so similar. Software is like, who cares? I'll get you Blender. We'll install it on your machine. Use Blender, right? Just let's have some protocols so the scale is correct and things like that. But that stuff's so much easier now than when I started. You know, when I started, it was Maya house. It was a max house, right? Games was max. Nobody cares. And if they care, then they're idiots. You don't want to work for them anyways. They're idiots. And their idiocy will come out. All idiots are outed at some point in our industry. It's one of the great things about it. Idiots, you get to know who they are quick, right? It's very fast. All right. So what we need, sorry, I sidetracked Annie. Is it Annie or Ann? See, like I never want to know Annie, Ann. I don't want to have that conversation. I want to know. I'm going to say, yeah, that's who I'm talking to. So what we are missing are gradients. There's no gradient here. There's no gradient here. There's no gradient here. And there's no gradient here. And those are all places where dirt's going to gather just from ambient occlusion alone. And then this is just people are touching stuff down here. They're throwing stuff. So there's a lot more human interaction down in those areas, right? And so those kinds of things, those are the basic level texturing that you have to learn, right? And so you have to take a class, get into a program where you are focused on those foundational aspects. We're not focused on just modeling, just a basic albedo on it. You need to actually go in and learn how to tell a story with your work. And by story, I don't mean fairy tale story of a prince and a princess or this ogre and this fight or clash of clans. By story, I mean some humans interact with this wall this way. These humans interact with this wall this way. They interact with this grass this way, right? So you're telling a more basic story. And so with this village structure, where do people hang out, right? What are they likely to clean? Are they going to clean the backside? Or are they hanging out in the center, right? And so that means the backside is going to be dirtier. The interior, the courthouse area is going to be cleaned more often. There's going to be grass and stuff, in the back. There'll be less grass in the courtyard area, right? And there'll be more dirt because people are rummaging their feet around in that area. These are the things that you have to learn and focus on. All right, Annie? Hope that helps. Okay, I'm actually changing my format here, guys, as I go through this. I'm giving a lot more basic feedback. Benjamin. Benjamin, do you have a job? You don't exist, Benjamin. That's a problem. How am I supposed to do this? Now I'm supposed to Google it? I don't like to Google. I like to just say no. So I would say no. And I can't find you here. So how am I going to critique? I don't know. But you have to exist. That's what's really important in this industry. Graduation project last year. Decent gradients, but you could do more. The color here is too uniform. You do have something on the spec, so that's a good thing. And you have some wear and tear, but probably you need a little bit of color variation, or really hue variation is what I would say. It's too red, so strong. And then the bottom there as well. So I'll do a quick paint over for everybody. So what I teach people is, the value's too different there. What I teach people is to just throw like some procedural noise, and then you add a ramp to it. And then you're just monkeying around with hue. Not a bad idea to get a little bit of some cool in there. I'm gonna set that opacity really low. This is what painters do. This is why we have so many broken edges and stuff is, you know, you want to go in and you want to kind of add, let's throw that on and then get that a little there. Greener areas, right? And then if we look at this too, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, you see my color swatch, watch right up here in the corner, right up there, guys, watch that. You see how that's 26? And then what you want to do is you want to watch these sliders and be like, how much variation do we have? So that color is pretty uniform throughout the whole thing, you know, and that's a bit of a problem, right? So what we want is we want some areas with a little bit more color, right? And then as we kind of go through this, we try to widen that gap. We want this to go down. We want some really warm. We want some really, something over here. Do you see how this starts to add like a little bit more life? Okay. Now turn that off. Should add a little bit more vitality, ever so much vitality to the conversation. Okay, and then of course, let's get a little, so I'm gonna call this, and this is what I do in coloring, in texturing. I have people create a color var, color variant layer, and then there's gradients. And so these gradients would typically set this to a multiply. Colorize could be set to many different levels, but let's just go here and then that bottom should be a little, corner should be really just kind of, you gotta really juice it in those corners, man. Right, and then that goes here as well, although I have to be a little bit more careful. Right, so there's got to be some gunk in there, man. That can't be as clean as that. And there's got to be some grimy stuff down in there as well. All right, I'm getting a little bit extra crazy, and that's because I have a trick. Okay, and then this is too uniform throughout the entire height of this, so I'm going to put a gradient up here at the top. And then last thing, let's get a little bit of a gradient right down there at the base. And then a little bit more in there, fill that. Okay, so if we zoom out, I've just added a little bit more vitality. Does that make sense? Right, and then of course you can go a little crazy, and then you just blur it, and that works too, right? It's like now I got rid of a lot of the stroke, and to me this just adds a lot more life. You look down here, now I'm going to turn these off, and you'll see it's just, now it looks CG, now it looks a little bit more prepared, right? So we want to basically be layering reality onto it. And this is what I was talking about before with the idea of story. Let me see. Somebody else has already written the story of, you know, whatever game we're in. What we are doing is telling the story of these objects. How do people interact with it? How does it interact with the environment? Does it hail there? If it hails there, it's probably got some broken windows. Okay, is this in, if this is in Austin, Texas, it's going to hail, there's some shit's going to be broken there. Okay, is it just rain? What is it, right? So you have to figure out how to tell story from in the prop, basically, in the texture, in the high poly, in the normal maps, all of that. You have to figure out how to tell the story of what this object has been through and where it has lived. And gradients, of course, are like, they're just essential. You know, in fact, I instantly know where somebody is on their learning journey based on just gradients alone, right? That's the one thing that determines like so much. If you understood gradients, then by the time you got to that, you've done so much of the other work. So I use it, and that means it's a hack. That means put the gradients in, and you'll get sorted. Roshan, okay. So, got a LinkedIn. Sweet. We got an Instagram too. Sweet. You are working or not working? You are working now. Okay, sweet. Okay. Did you say Hyderabad? How is Hyderabad these days? No, Bangalore. Okay, good. All right, let's see. Now, Instagram. Okay, hard surface, 3Rs, hard surface. All right, so this is a hard surface or character? Hard surface or character? I see more character than I see hard surface. Why? I see a hard surface here. That's 3 months ago. I see the character work 3 months ago. So what's our focus? All right, and then so now that's what we need. We need to know, like, what is your focus? So we're just going to kind of crush through this, because the number one thing you need to do is figure out your North Star, right? If you want hard surface, then it's more like, is it Alex Seninshall? I worked with somebody a long time ago who's a hard surface guy. Yeah, here he is. Let me show you. So Alex, where is he now? Okay. So this is hard surface. This is hard surface. Like, this dude's into hard surface. So if you want to get a job doing hard surface, this guy's your competitor. And that's what you want. You want to find who are the people that are doing it, what are they doing, and then you want to do what they're doing. That's the North Star part of this, because it's a job. We're professionals. So we do what is needed, right? And so there's a lot more hard surface that you have to develop to call yourself hard surface. Your main thing is a character. So you have conflict. What are you going to do? Because you can go either route. Your characters are fine, your hard surface is fine, but both of them require that you move to the next level. The character needs gradients, right? You need to tell the story of that robe, like what do we call that? You got to tell the story of that outfit. It's too clean, right? It's too clean for even being cleaned. It's too clean. It's brand new. So you need to give it life and tell the story. It's got to have gradients, spill, put some ramen on that. You know, whatever it is, you got to tell the story of the work. That's what we have to do. Whew. What are we, already an hour and a half? Hour and 15 minutes? And I haven't even deep dived. So I'm going to start crushing through things, guys. But you do have to focus, right? Because again, we're focused on what do I need for a job, and you're sending me mixed signals. And if you send me mixed signals, then there's no signal. You know, really important. Okay. Daniel. I tell people, okay, so at Vertex, it's important because we give students some visibility that, you know, that they say created at Vertex. I think there's like a tag, and then it goes on our page at ArtStation. But it immediately discounts the work when you say, I did this during my mentorship, or I did this during my class. And you don't want to discount the work, you know. So you want to say, you know, thank you to your teachers, thank you to your leads, you know, whatever it is. But I'm always 50-50 on people saying that, you know, and I'm 50-50 because I run a school, right? So they have to tag us for us to publicize them. Did you even know that the work is there, right? But this is great. Good work. Love it. I would get to this image faster. I don't need all of these images. So you've got one image here, maybe this, and then cut out. Get these two out of here, and then that's cool, animated. But I need more. I would really love to know, I mean, that is your high poly. Where's your high poly? Yeah, I don't see the high poly, so I would love that. So it's basically image, get to the information I need, and give me a high poly here. I don't like this colored version. I want low, high, and then rendered. Yeah, and then you even got Zug mentorship. You got to be careful. All right, so you have to do the same. Your North Star is pretty clear here. Something along blizzard line, something like that. Let's turn the ringer off. And then so we just need lots more of these pieces. And for you to just make them, you know, this scale or more. But otherwise, this look really good. Great job, Daniel. Let's go. Strahinja. It's a ZBrush screen render. We don't want that. This is all illustration. It's not giving me the information I want. This is hard to read. This is really hard to read. You might need a 3/4 view. Yeah, this reads better. So you might say, I would cut this first image. This image is actually really cool. This second one, third one is cool. These are cool, but you might throw them to the bottom, and then quickly get me the sculpt, because the sculpt is what I really want to see. Especially with creature design, I need to see your sculpt. And then after that, we can go into the, so we're looking at the high poly. I want to see low poly and texture, you know, assuming you did it. But the high polys cannot be overestimated at this. And then in terms of this, careful with your saturation. So green is, humans have a relationship with green that's different than the other colors. It can make us sick, right? Number one. And then, you know, we came from the savannas. So basically, we see more green than we see of almost any other color. It's just more intensive experience for us. And so you have to be very careful with green. In fact, the best green is not even green, it's yellow. yellow is the best green for us. Because when you go full green, it becomes kind of unrealistic. And so you got to really desaturate it, make it more yellow or make it more blue. That arm is looking plasticky because it's so green. So if you were to shift that into a yellow spectrum a little bit more, it'll be a lot better. And it'll come across a lot better. You just have to have some variation for darker, lighter, darker, lighter, right? Right now it's just all one it's one saturation and one easier for me to do than talk about. Okay. All right, so see that's quite solidly in the green. We're going to move that into the yellow, and I'm going to lighten it, and I'm going to desaturate it. Desaturation is kind of key. Let's go 50% saturation. Let me find a blend mode that works. Like a overlay, softly. No. Screen, but low intensity. And then on from there, and then overall, let's say, that's not working. I need to go just normal. What is going on? My flow. Hold on one sec, guys. I don't know why it is behaving funky. Maybe it's the brush. So let's do soft. Oh, well that would be why, Ryan. Duh. Yeah. I don't know if we'll get what I want out of this, but let's see. Trying to play with more browns. That'll help a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Still green, but I put a lot more yellows and oranges in it, and it's a little easier on the eye. And this is more dynamic, in my view. So you got to bring the value up, and you got to change the chroma of it in my view. And always avoid ZBrush renders. And this goes, you know, for everybody. You got to avoid ZBrush renders. They're like the #1 reason for somebody to just click off your screen is if you post a character, it needs to be a character. A character is not a ZBrush render. That's a sculpt. A character is textured and it's in an engine or something of that nature, right? So if you're dealing with film, that's different, but in games, if you need to have it with topology, high poly, low poly, and all of that. And really important, right? You only post your high quality. So this one that I'm looking at right now is posted 3 weeks ago. The whip, you don't put whips here. Put whips in Instagram. Here, you post finished work because they're just looking for a reason to say no. All right? So let's keep going. Lighting. Let's do lighting another day. Lighting is a different issue to deal with. But you did animation there. You got some warm, cool going on. Yeah, let's do lighting later. These, actually, I can do this, I think. That one, I couldn't have grabbed this. Yes, this is nice. You got a little shadow or light in the back. Uh-oh. Hold on one sec, team. All right, sorry about that. 2 years ago, you guys can still hear me? Okay. That's 3 years ago. We don't want to talk about anything way back then. That's 4 years ago. What is the order of operations here? This is looking good. Some warm, cool key light. Shadows are a separate conversation for a separate thing. Color's good. Yeah, this looks good there, but I'm not entirely sold. What is my problem? I don't know, let me come back. All right, something's troubling me and I don't know what it is. Okay, so again, let's go here. 30. Specializing in stylized, fantastic. Okay, are you working? Okay, full-time, all right. So, let's say anatomical. I'm not sold, my friend, on the shapes on this. So if it's stylized, I still want, like it's too, they have a thing in stylized where Leticia says it's the sharps versus the rounds, right? And so like this is all kind of rounded. I don't see a ton of sharps here. I don't see a ton of shape design in this. So I'm a little sketchy on this. It's working against you with all of these pieces. So I would hide this one for now. We want just finished pieces, especially when the rest of the work is really so solid. So now the question is, are you answering my needs, right? So when we look at the work, we're asking ourselves, like, you know, who's looking and what do they need? And so I'm going to look at this work, and the question is, who's looking? I'm HR. I need somebody, and I need to know, can you do high polys? Like, and you're making me, I don't like videos in the beginning. Sure, I can sit, but look at this. Nothing you can do about this. This is YouTube's problem. I can go here, and sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't, but I might not click. See? See how nothing came out of that. So I would not do that. It's not safe. I would do what Marco did. Okay? And then so and I don't care about your backgrounds. I'm not hiring you for the background. Why is it out of focus? This looks like you can do depth of field. I don't like that. This is great. This is exactly. So I need an actual, like an image where it's just simple background and my character is lit and I see multiple views. Then I need to know you can do hair. Then I need to see your high poly. I need details. I need UVs, and then we're good to go. So you got to clean that presentation up. This one looks cool, like it, right? And this looks really great. Great job. I see my concepts on the side. I see this. I don't need this image. Nix that. I don't really know if I need the back. I need to see the high poly. And then I don't see the texture. I don't see the UVs. Need that. Great. I see my character. Like, yes, can do it. I see the concepts. Cool. Matches the concepts. Could probably be a little sharper in some areas. Missing some of the shape language, just a tiny bit. And then you're missing some of the gesture, right? So this gesture is, you kind of cut it off. So somewhere right around here, you put the pelvis in. Take this line right here, take it straight up. See how that line is going through that eye? So that would mean that you need to take the gesture here and really push that. And this is, to me, in my mind, this is something that's really important for stylized people because you're just dealing with gesture so much. It's such a big part. So you need to get that, pull all of that stuff to the side. And yeah, it's a little crazy, but you know, that's the character. Get that in there. Get that gesture. Don't skimp on that. Now, high poly, high poly, high poly, I see it, great. I see this, great, fantastic. Where's the texture? Yeah, well, I've got to work on your presentation on that. Much simpler so that I know you can do it. And this is 3 years ago, so we don't need to look at that. And is there anything more recent? So you got to do a lot more work, you know, a lot more work. You got to show that you're passionate, right? I don't want to hire you on work that you did 3 years ago because I don't know what you've been doing. You know, I don't know if you even give a shit anymore, right? So your work has to be current. Okay, let's go back here. Concept, illustration, 3D modeling, that is a big world. What are we trying to do here? No LinkedIn. Okay, lots of socials. Let's see what you got on this. Graphics. And then here, okay, so we got to get focused. What do you want to do? I see 2D, 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 and then 3D. So you can't get a 3D job with a 2D career or a 2D portfolio. This work is looking pretty solid, so you need to split these. And you have to have two different worlds that you're in. And that's super important. I see that you're a Vertex student, so super important that you separate these. Like, look, there's an entire world of stuff that you did here. But I'm actually looking at Inktober stuff, right? And then how long ago was this? This was last year. So you gotta have a separate for your 2D, a separate for your 3D. Totally different art stations. They should not meet. The art station that you have for 3D, that's job-centric, who are you talking to? What do they need? Okay, they don't need to see drawings. Drawings are an absolute waste of their time, just pisses them off, right? And it showcases that you don't understand presentation for the job. So it's not a professional presentation. There's a little bit of unprofessionalness to it, right? So a professional presentation for a 3D job at Activision so that I can go in and create their guns and their hard surface, right? Should be focused on that. And there should be nothing else in it, okay? So right here, again, I see so much 2D, right? And then now we need more than what you've got here. So these are 2 years ago. Yeah, maybe I need a sense of scale. So into this immersive arsenal, we could be talking about, like, you know, laying everything out where it's like, here's my asset pack. And it's all these things. A sense of scale as opposed to these individual items. Because one of the things I tell students is that, you know, you can make an axe, you can make a sword. They're just not impressive on their own. If you have like 20 swords, if you have an entire asset pack of weapons, like, it's impressive. But just one sword, like, there's not a lot of surface area. You can't really impress me that much. There's not a lot of materialness. It's steel, and there's some leather, and maybe you put a jewel in there. But how much story can I tell? Because the damn thing's been in a scabbard all day long, right? So it's hard. So you combine all of that stuff into one, and then it's more impressive, I think, right? The gun detailing looks really rock solid to me. You could use some color variation. So if you add a color var and you just have it kind of go purple and yellow and blue, tiny bit. It is in the texture. It's in the real world. People's eyes do that. So you kind of have to fake it, because these are just matte black. And again, you need high poly. Like, I'm seeing a lot. Let's get you guys onto that screen. I'm seeing a lot, like, there's a lot of renders, cool. But really, what do I need? I need your render, your high poly, your UVs, and your texture. And then maybe this, but not all the rest of it. Okay? All right. Jessica. How are we doing, team? Everybody still good? You can all hear me? Yeah, battery seems fine. Tell me what you're picking up out of all of this crazy. What are you learning? Tell me, like, one thing that you might come away with in all of this. My original idea was going to quickly go through all of these and then deep dive into 4. And so what I might do is I'm just going to go through these real quick, and then I have 4. I'm going to show you them, and then what I'll probably do is deep dive into those on Wednesday, because otherwise I'm going to be here forever. And I got kids to pick up. So I got, 6 kids? I forget what he says. So tell me what you're picking up. What's one thing you're going to pick up out of this review that you think is really going to help you moving forward, right? We've talked a lot, and I'm still going to go through these people and then show you the 4. There's 2 I'm going to show you, and then we're going to show you the 4 or 5 I want to deep dive into. We talked a little bit about AI, which I know is everybody's concern. It's just not really a concern right now. We've talked a little bit about, you know, how you have to be a professional at this, right? And what that means, you know, including that job of tell me about it, that question. Tell me about a time, a difficulty you experienced and how you overcame it, right? Are you unprofessional or are you professional? Are you going to talk about your work or are you going to talk about your personal life, right? There's a lot we talked about. But tell me, I'd love to know. I'm going to look at the chat here in a second. Let's go through. Luck Duck, I'm an environment art student at Vertex. Awesome. And that guitar was my term 1 project. Very valuable insight about splitting my portfolio in 2. Yes, sir. And that means that you're early. So if you're term 1, that means you're early. So great. The recruiters are not humans. They are not humans to you. They assume they are machines because eventually they will be, guys. Eventually this will be AI. And then humans will oversee it. But you have to understand how much of a, let me get the mic, how much of a checklist this is. That's why it's going to be AI, is because AI can look, I've been debating this. I can create an AI critiquer right now. I can do it because I have rules. So we could feed it a bunch of images with gradients that fit the rules and do all of that. And we could create an AI agent that would basically say, no, you're missing X, Y, and Z, because it's a system. I have a system. And I've had to make a system because for whatever reason, control's been important in my life. And so I've tried to control what good means and whatnot. So you guys get the benefit of that. And so it's a basic checklist. Do you have color variation? Do you have gradients? Do you have value variation? Or is all the tone just flat one tone? Do you have a sense of story? Like somebody's hand grabbed the handle and there's oil residue, right? Or they cleaned it meticulously, but they didn't clean this area. So they're not human in that sense. You're not being reviewed in a human sense. You're being reviewed in a mechanical sense. It's a machine mind that's being applied to your work, which is hard because you're an artist. You're creating something that gives you an experience and a feeling, and you are putting it out there for a machine brain to look at and determine if you're good enough. That shit's hard. I mean, there's no way around that. But there's no way around that. That's the reality, right? Of course, HR people are human, they're loving people, they're caring people, you know, but they have to apply a machine mind. And if one of them doesn't, the system's going to. It's a system. And you're going to go through multiple people, right? Okay, let's keep going. The 4th C, I learned that I could really cut my portfolio down to what questions does this image video answer, and does it answer it as quickly as possible. Sweet. The professional aspect, Naple, is super interesting. I put my portfolio link in late in term 2. This is really helpful watching. All right, by late, I don't know what you mean. Like, if you posted it to, you know, today, I probably missed it. But if you posted it late yesterday, that's fine. But anyways, we'll see. We're going to keep you guys tell me, do you want to do more? You know? I want to do more of these. Yeah, Nate, I don't know if I got you then, my friend. Okay, let's take a look. Jessica. I hate folders, Jessica. I hate them. I do not like them. Sam, I do not like them with green eggs and ham. Look, I'm going to show you what I have to do here, Jessica. I have to click once, twice, and I'm just seeing one. Like, I hate that. Okay, but anyways, I'm going to go through it for you, Jessica, but just for you. Otherwise, just know that I loathe folders. Are these even folders? Am I being dramatic? I think I'm being dramatic. You know what it is? I don't like the thumbnail. Yeah. Give me one image. Give me this image right here. That's what I don't like. feels like folders, and then I become a sissy about it. One image that, just like a YouTube thumbnail. Okay. Gradients, 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 my friend. Lots of gradients. High poly, UVs, colors. You got to put gradients in there. And so, of course, with this particular job, I don't see a lot of detail on this, but with this particular job, it's probably decals, posting a bunch of decals. So I would want to see gradients. This should 100% should have gradients. So I see the high poly. I see this. I need more gradients. Top and bottom, all of that should be darker, I think, even if it's not true. And then I don't like this situate where it's multiple. Give me one hero shot. I need one hero shot, and I'm not sold on this main thumbnail. The skill is there, Jessica. The skill is there. The question is presentation could use a little bit more. When you render it in a scene like you've done right here, where you've got that arc, and do we have the right scale, right? So those bricks look big. And so now you've introduced elements where you now have to make sure they're right. And you've given me another opportunity to say no. I don't like the background. It's not sitting in the background right. Don't do it. Blow that background away. Simple color, just keep it simple. Put it on a little base, like a little circular base with a little bit of tufts of grass and whatnot. But don't put it in an environment like this, because now I'm judging the environment, and I'm assuming I'm not supposed to. I'm assuming I'm to judge the prop, right? So laser focused. What do you want out of them? You want them to see the prop. They're coming in here. They need to see the high poly, the low poly. They need to see that of the prop. And so that's what you got to focus on. All right. Thanks. Yasin, I again loathe this style. I think it's this way. Okay, sweet. You have a LinkedIn that doesn't go anywhere. Sup, bro? Come on. You don't care enough to fix your LinkedIn? You're gonna care for the job I give you? You got the skill? Look at that. I love it. Okay. How old is that? That's 2 years old. This is working against you. This is this year. This is working for you. Your ArtStation is not anywhere near as interesting as your Instagram, right? So, beautiful. Love it. Look at that. Great stuff going on there. You might need to just finish more work, my friend. You might be dilly-dallying, going from one thing to another. So, you got to get in, pick a character, take it all the way through, right? But again, the question is, are you a sculptor or are you a character artist? These are two different worlds, right? And I didn't check the LinkedIn. Oh, it didn't exist. So I don't know what you've done. I don't know what you're going for, because your LinkedIn doesn't exist. Now I've said it 3 times. You need to decide what you're going to do. And if you're going to be a character artist, you need to go all the way to low poly and full textured. And you just need to hustle on that. You do 5 of those, you have the skill. You'll get work. But you got to create a lot of characters, right? You got to prove that you can do it. To get the job, you got to do the job. To get the job at a certain company, you got to do the job at the same level as people who are already doing it. Okay? Let's look at the people I'm going to review tomorrow. Or Wednesday, sorry. So on Wednesday, I want to do a deep dive on Sadie, Christopher, Raimundo, Lizzie, Marlene, and the CH. We've got to figure that one out. Arcana, sorry. I'm murdering it. And I'll do a deep dive on these, all right? So I'm gonna do that on Wednesday. I'll make the YouTube live and get that all situated. We're gonna do it right here on Vertex, not my King's Line, but we're gonna do it on Vertex because it's a game art centric thing. And I'll deep dive on those four to talk further about these principles, okay? So I've said one thing, and I want to end this with the next piece of information, right? Because it can be a little daunting. Hey, you got to do work at the same level as people who've been in the industry for 10 years. That's the truth. Okay, anybody who tells you that that's not true is not telling you the truth. It's just the truth. You maybe come in a little bit lower, but your best chance, and the way we do it at Vertex is you pick your North Star, you pick your artist, and your work is as good as theirs. That's what you go for. So how the hell do you do that when somebody's been working 10 years? And the answer is in technology. So every time that there's a technology shift, this is a moment for massive, new people flow into the industry much faster than any other time. So 5 years ago, people were flowing into the industry because they knew, it's longer than 5, because they knew Substance Painter. So the new people in school, it didn't matter if the school taught it or not, they just learned Substance Painter. And so they were able to create better textures than people who were using older workflows. And they were able to get it done faster. And so they would come out of school and they'd go straight to work because they knew the tool that the old people weren't using. Technology is your advantage, right? And so you look for what's Substance Painter doing now? How is texturing changing? How is modeling changing? These changes are going to be one of the most important wedges you have to move you in to your job, okay? Because you don't want to compete with people that have been doing this for 10, 20 years with the workflows that are 10, 20 years old. You want to come in and you're the new blood. Every company needs new blood, right? And that's it, because people get old and we don't want to, right? I don't want to learn Blender. You couldn't make me learn it now. I want to paint. I have a painting directly behind me. I don't even know if this camera would turn around and see it, right? So let's just whip around the studio, right? Now you're staring off into some crazy space. And so, that's the stuff that's like engaging to me is something like this. So I'm not going to sit around. There's my marble Audi. Let me turn this around back to me. And you might not have been able to see that very well because of the focus. So let's come back. And I gotta turn the light back to me. I know I'm far away from the microphone. I work in a dark studio here. Yeah, let's go a little bit over. There you go. There, that's the focus. So the painting was probably too far away. But I don't want to learn Blender. I'm too old. That happens all the time. Find the piece of technology that old people don't want to learn. Learn that piece of technology, right? So what's the technology that old people aren't learning right now? Of course, there's AI. You can say AI, but you don't need to go that far. Metahumans. If you're a character artist, metahumans. Are the old people learning metahumans and learning how to create 20 characters based on a couple of facial types? Are they learning how to use 3D scan stores genome for characters? If you're an environment artist, are you doing procedural content, PCGs? Are you creating environments that kind of piece together, or are you creating environments like they did 15 years ago? Learn the new shit, because that's what the old folks in the old folks' home don't want to be bothered with. So this is your value, is in the new shit, okay? So while I say, you have to do the job at the same level as people who've been in the industry, you have an advantage. You're new. You can program your learning now and get more of it than the old folks in the old folks' home who really just want to be sipping their banana pudding through a straw. Like me. I'll take my banana pudding, please. And watch reruns of 1883. So they're not even reruns. See, that's how old I am. I say reruns. It's not a rerun. It's on demand. It's crazy. Okay. Now let's get an ender to this. Head over to Vertex School, guys, to learn more about all of this stuff. If you want to know more, just click Get Started and apply, right? And you'll get an interview with one of our peeps and hopefully talk to John Mark. Super easy to do. And we go from there. Cole3Y3 has asked a great question. Do I need 5 works or just 1 good work? Do you need 5 works or just 1 work? I'll tell you this, 1 piece of artwork will get you hired. It will be 1 piece of artwork. The question isn't whether or not they need 5 pieces. The question is whether or not you need 5 pieces. So you can get a job from 1 piece of artwork. That has been true for a long time. They'll see 1 piece, they'll lock on 1 piece, and they might want to see more to make sure that, it's not a fluke. But that's not the question. The question is, how many pieces do you have to make that 1? That's the question. And so there's a dilemma, there's a dichotomy between mileage and quality. And there's no way around it. Sometimes you have to just create 5 pieces because you hit a plateau every time. And you just need to create them, and you need to focus on just finishing. Or other times you need to just focus on the quality of 1 piece, right? There's an old story, it's told, I think, in a couple of different books, of a pottery teacher who graded his students based on 2 different parameters. Half the room was graded on the quality of their piece. The other half of the room is graded on the weight of all of their pieces, right? So how much they produce, the mileage, quality and mileage. And the general consensus was that those students who were graded on mileage produced better work. Whereas those people who were focused on quality got so analytical, so anal, and so in their own head because the quality of the work was not, they kept just doing small little changes. Whereas the guys over here with mileage, they were just experimenting and the good work flowed out of them, right? We live in both worlds. So I can't answer that. Only you can. It depends, Can you produce that 1 work? And if you can't, then do your mileage. Just hustle. And then when you start seeing the quality of your work improve, then you're like, damn, okay, maybe I pick 1 and I just deep dive. Does that help? All right. CJ, this has been invaluable. Thanks for your time today. Can't wait for Wednesday stream. Awesome. All right, guys. Have an amazing day. I don't see any comments, but I'll respond to comments before. Let me put my face back on this and we'll end on my face. Head over to Vertex if you want to get an interview and you want to learn more about all of this stuff. At Vertex, it's basically, I started it. I built it around what we had here. Other people have come in and they've added their insights and their value and whatnot. But we're still built around the same core, which is, how the hell do you make yourself a job candidate? Okay? And so the stream today is about how you make yourself a job candidate. The stream on Wednesday will be how you make yourself a job candidate. College doesn't do that. It doesn't even factor into it. It's irrelevant. Nobody cares what college you went to. None. I don't even want my kids to go to college now. With AI, with everything else, my wife is Indian. She was accepted into Harvard and MIT. I was accepted into University of Las Vegas. So my kids get to joke and say, like, I was accepted into a clown college, which I don't know anything about University of Las Vegas, so I do not mean to offend anybody from that area, but it's not Harvard or MIT like my wife was. So, you know, there's a big internal family debate of how important college is. But I guarantee you, for creatives like us, it ain't important at all, and it will never be important. What is important is your portfolio, and you, whether you go to my school, you go to any of these other schools, you only focus on the portfolio. You only focus on that HR person, North Star, at Blizzard, at Naughty Dog, at Activision, and you're like, what do they need to see? And you make that freaking thing that they need to see. And that is the only thing you think about for a month, is that piece of artwork that they need to see. That's it. You do that and you win, guys. You bypass college, you bypass everything, you just do that. That's the key, okay? Vertex is here to support you on that journey because, you know, it's simple, but it's hard. It's a simple idea. It's hard to execute. It's also hard to know, like, what does Activision need? So that's why we have Jacob, who's, you know, works at a fantastic place, and everybody's kind of pulled from industry, so they all know what's expected. All right, you surround yourself with that, and you'll be in great shape. And at this point, I'm rambling. So I will see you all. I'm going to cut this off. Have an amazing week, and thank you for being here with me on Vertex's YouTube. I'll see you guys Wednesday, where we'll give a critique of those 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 6 people. We'll just dive deeper in. Okay, and then we'll open this up again for more people to submit, and for people to resubmit with more focused portfolios. All right. Thank you, guys. Take care. Ciao.